I was hoping you might be able to just take us a step further into understanding the soaring into strength positive health model. Can you explain what it is and how it could impact a person?
Sure. So it started with my capstone thesis when I was getting my master's in applied positive psychology with Marty Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania. I had already been running the charity for 11 years, but I wanted to go back and find out what the science was and bake that into what we already were doing, and of course, to expand it. So when I wrote my thesis, the motto was called SOAR, SOAR. And now, because always learning and growing, and one of my signature strengths is curiosity and love of learning, not to be static, not to sit back, eat bonbons, and say, hey, we did a great job. It's like, what else do we need to learn? What else are we doing? So the model is called Soaring, and it stands for shifting your thoughts, your actions, and your emotions to have the greatest amount of room to feel all your feelings. And one of the shocking revelations for me during COVID was that I had to feel my negative emotions and my sad emotions and not stuff them and bury them, because I was raised to be a good girl and to be happy. So I called Tal Ben-Shahar, one of the founders of the field of positive psychology, and said, I am not thriving. And he goes, yeah, that's what happens when you're a positive psychology thought leader. Everyone thinks you're happy all the time, but it's only when you feel all your feelings that you can really work through them and move forward with them. In fact, in a couple of hours, I'll be interviewing Dr. James Pennebaker, who's the leading expert in the world in expressive writing and positive narrative. So shifting, being able to be aware of your feelings, your emotions, what your body's telling you, and pay attention to that. O is for optimism. Most people are miserable because they think that happiness is a trait, like you have red hair or you're very tall, but happiness is a state. It comes and goes, it ebbs and flows. So optimism, learning how to cherish those micro moments of positivity by being fully present. Wow, I'm sitting here at this table and both of my sons are here and my daughter-in-law is here and my 85-year-old mom is here and my husband and my grandbaby. This is great. This is a moment. Take it in instead of, okay, let's clear the table, let's have dessert. So optimism, it comes and it goes, but if you can experience those micro moments and savor them, you're doing really well. The A stands for agency, which is such an important part of leading a passionate, agentic life, that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it, which is tied in with the R, which stands for resilience, that you are so much stronger than you could imagine. And there's so many things, and that's why in my book, I put all of the stories, the setbacks, the really painful stories of being molested as a child by a stranger, and the really happy stories like winning that $1 million account and being in the middle of a trade show and winning best of show, and then finding out on that same morning that my son is catastrophically ill. So we can't choose what happens to us, but we can choose how to show up, and we can tap into our inner strength and know that we can be strong and that we will not be flattened. The I stands for imagery, healing imagery. We each have an internal GPS that when we go inside, it just takes 30 or 60 seconds. We can imagine things, and our cells don't know the difference. I have a private healing imagery practice. It came out of meeting thousands of people in hospitals or clinics and hearing their stories, and knowing that there were things they could do on an individual level to shift. So I studied with Dr. Gerald Epstein from the American Institute of Mental Imagery. I studied with him for 3 years to become certified in what I had known from being a young girl. I always had this ability to tap into other people and to use flow and forces greater than me to help people activate that inner imaginal realm. There's a wonderful organization called the Coincidence Project, which I was invited to be on the global board of directors of. And it's scientists and physicists and people who are very skilled and knowledgeable and practiced in the art of synchronicity, which is when seemingly random things happen that are impossible to be random, that have great meaning and significance for the people involved. Synchronicity, serendipity, coincidence. So that's a wonderful group where, again, that's part of a tribe that I'm part of, where I can go and talk to people about synchronicity stories and coincidence stories and not have people think it's like a weird parlor game or some cheap trick. The N stands for narrative, positive narrative, how we tell our stories, and even listening to, hearing, reading, and writing stories has an impact on our worldview, our philosophy, and how we're feeling physically, emotionally, and mentally. So that's a wonderful repository that everyone can have access to. And then G, which stands for gratitude, which I believe is the most powerful of all the positive emotions. We can be grateful for drinking water. We can be grateful for small things. Like I buy flowers every week because there's a wonderful place in my neighborhood, like a bodega, and they're beautiful, and the flowers last for 2 weeks. So it just gives me great joy to see them. So it's a really small micro intervention that has a really positive outcome. So that's the Soaring into Strength model. And whatever we do a program, we ask people to fill out a 5-minute questionnaire at the beginning and the end, and then we can measure the movement or the changes in their physical and emotional and mental well-being. And now, hopefully, with this larger grant funding, and as we start to scale, we'll be able to track people over time that will want to stay in the study with us to be learning and experiencing new insights and discoveries so that we can track how they're shifting and growing and changing over time.